Thanks, Lisa. Well, a little over a year ago, Joel Campbell, professor of communications, connected us up with a journalist at the Salt Lake Tribune who'd written an award-winning series on refugees in Utah. And as a result of that, that lecture and subsequent interactions, this opened up an issue that became of great interest to a number of people. It sounds like prior to that, Ingrid Amado was already interested in the issue and working on a project that directly connects in. She started a production company that specializes in media marketing for small business. Her passion is to talk about social issues that affect our communities, and that led her to make this documentary film titled Refugees in Utah. She's also addressed issues such as disabled children, domestic abuse in Guatemala, and other issues. She worked as an anchor for Radio Television Guatemala for more than 6 years and for 5 seasons as a producer and host of Esenciales para la Vida, a BYU Television International show for Latin America, Spain, and Portugal. A broadcast journalism graduate from Brigham Young University, Amado lives in Orem with her family of 16 years and is a proud mother of 3 boys. Someone, I believe from the Daily Universe, asked, well, why are you interested in this film at this time? As I mentioned before, there are many international issues that are right here in our backyard. And certainly at the Kennedy Center, we're interested in creating opportunities for our students to go abroad, and that's one of the main things that we do here. But we are also aware that of a campus of 33,000 students, even though BYU ranks among the top 20 in terms of students going overseas, that still is a very small percentage of the entire student body. So it's obvious, and painfully obviously perhaps, that there are issues here in our community that are serious and important and warrant our attention and our discussion. So we're very grateful to welcome now a proud alumna of BYU, Ingrid Amado, who will be talking a little bit, introducing her film, Refugees in Utah, which we will then screen. We'll have some time after the screening. The film's fairly short, I believe about 15 minutes. And then we'll have some time to talk with Ingrid and for some questions and answers and discussion here among the audience. So, Ingrid Amado.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, the Kennedy Center, for screening this documentary that I prepare about refugees in Utah. As you know, I've worked in the broadcasting, in the journalism field in Guatemala for about 6 years, anchored there, host there, different shows, and always used to talk about politics, social issues, but never really give people effective advice or solution about what you can do about these social issues in your lives, in your communities. And I'm very glad to have this opportunity. Do any of you know what a refugee is? Have any idea? Do you know? Can you explain to us?
Yeah, I actually served in Seattle as a missionary, and most of the people I contacted were refugees from Burma or Myanmar and other places, such as that, or even other places in Africa. And they were just people that had been, by their own country, misplaced or forced out because of their own persecutions or just seeking a better life. And so essentially they are, I think most of them were government-sponsored or other organizations sponsored them to come to the United States to give them a better opportunity.
Perfect. Thank you so much. That's true. Many of the refugees are forced to leave their homeland because they have a well-founded fear of death or persecution. And the U.S. government brings them here, invites them here to live in the United States, to just improve their lives. And the experience that I have with refugees is amazing because I met the most wonderful people, very resilient, very excellent in every single way. And the purpose of this documentary is to create awareness of the needs and challenges that these refugees have in our state, in Utah. Many of them come from societies that have never experienced an industrial, perhaps a post-industrial society. I've talked to a lot of refugees from Africa, from Middle East, from Asia, and some of them, they don't even know what a microwave is or an oven because they come from a different world. And just the fact that they're living here, they need to readjust and get used to a whole new, different world. And that's where we can help out. We always dream of international experiences to go and help different parts of the world, especially countries that are being torn by war. But we don't sometimes realize that we can have that international experience here in our state, in Utah, if we reach out to refugees. We can go to their homes. We can see their culture. They can share with us their culture. We can share with them our language, our knowledge of the culture, and we can just help them reach out their dreams. Because a lot of these people are completely amazing. They've survived already the worst things. And they're going to be able to survive here in the United States, and they're going to be able to succeed if they have enough volunteers, enough people to help them in this journey. So I'm going to show the documentary, and then we're going to go to questions. Just push here. We need a password. Then Andrew Ludlow. Cancel. That's 11. So I guess we're going to have to wait. Before we continue, I would like to, now that we have some time, I would like Gerald Brown, he's the director of the Refugee Office here in Salt Lake City, to talk to us about an upcoming Refugee Day. And I talked to you about Gerald. I don't know if you'd like to share with us a little bit about the upcoming Refugee Day, so we can be aware of the celebrations the refugees are going to be holding the month of June.
Scheduled out. It'll be on our website, which is pretty easy. It's refugees.utah.gov. World Refugee Day itself is on the 18th, I think, a Saturday. If that's not a Saturday, let me know, and I'll look it up on my little thing here. Just very quickly, I just wanted to make sure that you know that all refugees fled their countries because of persecution. None of them did it to just, make more money. There's a very specific definition of refugee. It's a well-founded fear of persecution because of one of 5 very specific grounds. And so nobody left to have a better life. They left to save their lives. So just wanted to make that.
The images of the movie Hotel Rwanda depict when nearly 1 million people were slaughtered in one of the worst ethnic cleansings of the 20th century. Thousands fled the country and witnessed unspeakable violence and torture. Jackie Mukasafari was one of them. She's a survivor of this genocide that took the life of her loved ones.
I had a nice family, dad and mom, and 4 brothers and 3 sisters. So, but during the war, everybody died. Some they died in front of me. And for me, it was the end of the war.
Jackie fled to the Congo with millions of survivors of this massacre. She settled in a refugee camp, and her determination to improve her life motivated her to get an education.
Thank to God, I survived, which I didn't hope. So, and I went to school. I went to university, so studying law. I finished 3 years in the university, but the last years, so I came here to the United States.
Jackie came to Utah in 2005, searching for a better future. Unlike many other refugees, she struggled with the new challenges that came with her new home.
I didn't know English. The first day I was so crying, thinking, how am I going to survive here? I have nobody to speak to. After 3 months, you have to find a job. If you don't have a job, everything will be on your own.
Her sacrifice has paid off. She's a very active member of the African community in Utah, and despite of her struggles, she's been able to preserve the wonders of her African heritage. Jackie is also a case manager for the Asian Association, and her experience in a refugee camp has helped her understand the challenges of refugees in Utah.
It was easy for me because I was single, but I can't imagine those who have like 6, 5, 7, even 10 kids. It's so hard for them, and they don't know English. They never been at school. So it's very difficult for those who don't know anything with large family. So after 8 months, they have everything have to be on their own.
Life in America, it's not easy for Jackie, but freedom is priceless.
The main happiness in a life is peace and security.
There are more than 8 million refugees in the world today, and more than 1,000 end up in the streets in Utah every year. This refugee family came 5 years ago from a refugee camp in Kenya. They feel grateful to live in the U.S., but also overwhelmed by the smallest tasks of modern life.
معناها شاشة إيدي بدي أوكي لكن دبت كلا أن هذا الشغل ما جت منا شغلان شغلنا بوهي نوعي مركز شغلنا واسية مركز منا أنا معنا وحبريسل مركز أنا اللغة ده مركز مركز أنا حدثي أنا بوصلنا الدراسة أنا تقول بي وأنا هيك الدنيا مركز أنا نين أقرأ معاه مركز ما أنا أقرأ كرامة المهم عندنا نيريان مركز أنا.
2 of their 7 children are disabled, and despite of government assistance, this couple feels that they don't have enough money to make ends meet.
أنا شدي مريكا مفتوح مريكا مرتو لب مقشيدا أنا مريكا عاتي على كمحسنا إلى حد براه ما إلى لب كجيرن هيكا شغلة أنت لمي يجي هنغريو يجي وحيو لب مقجيرن إلا كان ما نهاية شغلة أنا نهاية حتى دالو واللب ونكجدانا.
Although refugees receive public assistance when they arrive, the U.S. government emphasizes early economic self-sufficiency to speed their integration into American society.
It would make more sense to a lot of us to, have English up front, this sort of thing to prepare somebody. But that's not what the law says. The law says work, as soon as possible. And then you study and improve your English and your skills at night.
جالية لكن هذا كور مركم أنا مركني كوي مرك أنا ولا بلاد روج مرك أتصلي مرك وين فرق أتصلي إنه معنا يعني سكول بكذا مركم أنا إنه جوري إجار يكبيته مركم معنا لإدي ما يدي مركم أنا إنه جوري إجار يبتلم باين اللي معنا ندير معنا يدي سيو مرك معنا واحد برشلي كهلا وتري.
But the struggles don't stop there. Each refugee family has to pay back the cost of their airfare to the federal government, which sometimes adds to more than $5,000 per family.
Interestingly, refugees, when they land, they're in debt because they have to repay their airfare to the United States. If they don't repay it, it hurts their credit, just as like you and I, if we don't repay loans, our credit suffers. So they start off with a burden.
The federal government allots $1,800 per refugee to set up households. Agencies take less than half for administrative costs, leaving around $1,000 per refugee to cover for rent, utilities, food, and furniture. These agencies are running as lean as they can.
We're able to keep track of new arrivals, and things are much better. But I don't know what we're going to do when the funding ends in a year. I'm still working on that.
They look like normal school classes, but the student body here is a patchwork of different nationalities. Some adult refugees receive English as a second language by different organizations at the LDS Humanitarian Center.
We have 100 refugees that are involved in the training program right now. About 50 of them already were here at the Humanitarian Center working in our regular program.
Toothbrush.
Many of these refugees have lived in a refugee camp for decades and can hardly read and write their own language.
They came here, they've never picked up a pencil before, they've never written their name before, so they're starting from scratch. A lot of our refugees have never seen or opened a can, never flushed a toilet before, and so they not only have English that they have to work on, but they also have a completely new social system.
They don't know how to pay their bills, clean a house, or even take a bus. And without English training, the odds for these refugees to find a job and leave the refugee status is hard to imagine.
You know, they came to our country for to save their lives and to save their children's lives, and it's hard to do that without language skills. Without English, they don't have a chance of ever making enough money to get off of public assistance.
Some refugees receive job training at the different desert industries stores. This helps them build work experience in America.
Working on the donation dock where they receive the donations from the public. They also sort the donations and price them. We have them work at our cashier stations, the janitorial work, anything that would be involved in running a donation center and a retail thrift store.
The job and English training lasts for up to 6 months, and those unable to learn the necessary skills to leave poverty see their dreams of self-sufficiency suddenly awaken to harsher reality. They need to provide for their welfare.
Yeah? What kind of food you guys like? Rice or? Rice?
Resources given from the state to resettlement agencies allow refugees to work for up to 6 months after their arrival in Utah. From that point on, refugees are either left on their own or transferred to the Asian Association, an agency that provides different services that range from English classes to counseling services.
Well, we provide a holistic approach. We not only just serve and provide services, we get to know the families.
11 case workers and 3 job developers serve more than 2,500 refugees in Utah. These workers do their best to help refugees, but find it hard to meet the demand.
I can't imagine how they keep going. They have so many issues with each family. I mean, they have a caseload probably between 40 and 50, and some even up to 60 now. Each case has probably a lot of problems, so stretching themselves out is very hard.
I followed Jamal, a job developer for the Asian Association. He filled his van with refugees from different parts of the world and went off to hunt for jobs. Education is vital, he says, but job opportunities are not easy to find for refugees.
Okay, do you offer benefits or no? What we are doing, that we are job coaching them, how to fill application online, and how to do job search, how to act, with an interview, and all job searching aspects. Because the main purpose to make them self-sufficient, when at certain time, they have to be able to job search by themselves.
After a couple of hours, employers refer them to online applications.
Okay, online. These days, don't have too much applications to fill. Okay, let's go. Basically, my challenges is the one that my clients faces, like the language barrier, the lack of work history, especially for the newcomers.
They want to work so bad, and if people would just give them a chance, and we could provide interpreters for on-the-job training or any troubleshooting they might need, to understand their job better. But our main problem is finding jobs for people with little or no English skills.
For those who know the language, opportunities to find a job are a lot easier. Ali Al-Halawi served as a translator for the American troops in Iraq, and thanks to his English proficiency, he was able to find a job.
When I came from Iraq, I've never been, behind the wheels. I've never been driving. And through Asian Association, they helped me out to find a school to go to learn how to drive and to get my license.
Dreams run high in the new generation of refugees. For many of these players, soccer is a killer path to success.
That was one of the best days of my life. I was so happy. I didn't even know what to do. I mean, when I got home, I told my mom she just run and jump on me.
1, 2, 3, Africa United!
Meet the African United soccer team. Its members are refugee kids from over 10 nations. And after already winning one state championship, these kids have a better chance to succeed in America, while they play a game they love. Their coach, a Peruvian immigrant himself and a social worker, thinks that using soccer as an international language is a good way to educate vulnerable youth.
What we are doing in this soccer program is just to do mentoring time at the same time the kids are learning about soccer. Just a few minutes before the start of soccer practice, we are discussing issues that the kids are facing every day. Issues in the school setting, in the home setting, in the community setting. So we are talking about leadership, we are talking about gang prevention, we are talking about alcohol and tobacco prevention.
Ethefel has a brother who's a gang member, but his future means something different.
If it wasn't for Africa United right now, like we're practicing, like I'd be in the streets and doing things I shouldn't be doing. So if it wasn't for soccer, I think I'd be in the game too, I don't know.
Many of these kids came from refugee camps where soccer was their only distraction, and having the opportunity to do the same thing here with a real soccer ball is a dream come true.
We used to play with socks and stuff. I mean, we put a bunch of socks together and yeah.
For balloons for the party, we get them, blow them up, put them in a bag, and then it actually popped faster. Now I have shingles, protection, good shoes, plus the socks. I actually feel how I could taste the soccer ball, how it rolls.
The new generation of refugees are the only hope for families who are struggling in the United States. They have a better chance to fulfill the American dream, but without the proper programs to help these young refugees adjust to the culture, they can easily lose their lives on the streets.
I have an older brother that's in a gang and she don't want me to do that. So she's really happy with me playing for Africa United.
Oh, my parents love here. I mean, they think it's a better place for me, and they also love that I'm playing soccer with people I actually knew in Africa.
These are the faces of new Americans. Some try to hold tightly to their past. Others abandon their own culture. We can't change their past, but we can help them have a better future.
I love these individuals as our fellow human beings. It is only when we are able to do that can we get the best of these refugees.
Thank you. Do we have any questions, concerns, comments? Well, I was building this documentary last year. I realized how much footage and how many interviews I had accumulated. I interviewed over 30 people. You know, I went to different elementary schools, something that I didn't put in this documentary. I went to different elementary schools, interviewed their teachers. I interviewed these teenagers, you know, that sometimes they lived in a refugee camp for so long and they go straight to school, they go straight to 9th grade, and they're expected to learn really fast, you know, read, write, and do all these things. And, but I had to cramp all those 40 or plus hours of footage into a 15-minute documentary, which was a huge challenge because there's so many issues, so many things that we can talk about, so many stories that are heart-wrenching, but what I really want to focus on this documentary was the challenges that a lot of these refugees are having in our state in Utah. And as I was doing my research, also I found out that there are so many things that we can do to help refugees here in Utah. There's a lot of female-headed homes, you know, and there is nurseries where there is a lot of refugee children. And sometimes many of the teachers that they have in these refugee daycares, the teachers are not English speakers, you know? And sometimes when kids start preschool, they already lag behind in English skills because they don't have a teacher or perhaps someone in the nurseries who can help them get used to the language. I also realized that there is a lot of families that just because they need to go straight to work, you know, they live here in the States, they stay here for a couple of months, they get a couple of English classes, but sometimes they just need to start working. And a lot of these parents, they don't know English very well, but they need to somehow make sense of their bills, they need to somehow make sense of their world around them. So what I realized is that there's a lot of need for people who can go to the homes of these refugees and just teach them the language, teach them the culture. I remember I talked with this lady from Sudan, and she told me, you know, I used to take the bus, but I used to get lost in the city because for me, this is a completely different thing. And it was so hard to just see what bus I was supposed to take to get home, so I would get lost in the city. And I spent a couple of nights, you know, just sleeping on the streets because I didn't know what to do. So there is a lot of things that we can do as citizens, that we can do as residents of Utah, as students of BYU to help out these refugees. There is a project at Brigham Young University called Refugees, and you can help mentor refugees. You can go to the Center for Service here at the Wilkinson Center, and they have this project. They just need more volunteers, more students who can just help out and reach out to these refugees. You're gonna have to go to Salt Lake City, of course, if you wanna help, or you can just build kits here on campus for a lot of the refugees here in Utah. But there's so many things that we can do. And I'm glad that I had this opportunity because I like to create awareness that as residents, as citizens, we can reach out to the people from other places of the world. Yeah.
You had mentioned, I imagine. Switch to the mic, sorry. We're just recording. I imagine you've had a wonderful experience getting to know the different refugee communities here in Utah. You've talked a lot about what the role is of different agencies here in Utah to help refugee communities. What do you see the role is for refugees and refugee communities and their contribution to Utah?
Mm-hmm. What I was able to find out, there's a lot of refugee associations that help refugees. You know, even the people that I interview in the Asian Association, all of them are refugees that are reaching out to other refugees. So they are, from my point of view, I think they're doing their part. They're really trying to reach out. They're trying to get organized and just reach out to their people. But the numbers are so big. Like, I think last year we had over 1,000 refugees coming to the state of Utah. And there's so many refugees, and sometimes resettlement agencies that help refugees are underfunded. They don't have enough resources to help so many people coming to the state. They do their best, like Lina Schmidt was saying from the Asian Association, try to help and reach out to a lot of people as much as they can. But unfortunately, not all of them get the attention that they really deserve, because they came from refugee camps with this huge baggage of, I'm sure, memories and so much suffering that they had to endure. And here they just want to make it better. And another thing that I wanted to tell you is a lot of these people, most of them, the ones that I talk to, are really grateful to live in the U.S. They just love it here, and they just think this is a great opportunity for their families. But then you hear their struggles. Yeah, but I don't know the language very well. And I just don't know how to get my driver license. So I don't know how to do this or do that. So they start facing a lot of obstacles on their journey, and that's what it's keeping them back, at the end of the line. And they cannot be part of the mainstream just because of those challenges and the lack of people who can reach out to them and help them.
It seems like most of the refugees are located near in Salt Lake County, and the English classes, are there capability of volunteering for those? Are there any down here? Are there refugees down in Utah Valley?
That's a good question. When I talked to the refugee office, they told me that they don't have refugees in Utah County. They don't have a lot of refugees. So a lot of the refugees, they are mainly in the Salt Lake City area. And if you want to volunteer, if you want to help out, you're going to have to go to Salt Lake City and just teach them or mentor youth refugees. So that's where a lot of the refugees are located. Yeah. If you guys have any other questions. Another thing that I wanted to tell you about is that for me, this was a great opportunity to build this documentary. I not only met wonderful people that are tremendous, but I also had the opportunity to not focus only on, from the journalistic perspective, not to focus only on the problem. As an anchor in Guatemala, I was used to just delivering news about poverty, violence, but never really talk about issues. How you can, how can you live a better life despite all this chaos of all this violence that is happening in your country. So when I moved here to Utah, I started with Esenciales para la Vida, and we started to doing this show, and we offer through this show, it was a how-to-do show, effective advice on how you can improve your family life, how can you cope with domestic violence, how can you cope with sexual abuse, all those things. And for me, building this documentary was a way to say, this is a problem and this is what we can do. I didn't want to talk a lot about their sufferings and a lot of the pain that they experienced, because when I talked with a lady from Rwanda, she told me, this is what I experienced and this is how it happened. But I didn't want to focus on that, because for them it's something sometimes painful, and they just want to get over it, and they just want to go ahead with their lives and just keep working forward. And that's one of the things that I did in the documentary. I just tried to focus on the things that they are being challenged, and how we can help them improve here.
but really, they are supporting me. I went to my master's degree 3 years ago just because of them. And now I'm very bored with them just because of them. The average GPA in the school is 3.3. And I have a kid in the state of Utah who's going next year to the Washington State. Even he's in 10th grade. He didn't finish the high school, but he's very smart, and Washington State just accepted him for the next year. So he's going there with the scholarship. He would like to be a doctor. You don't have any idea about those kids. How smart they are, how strong they are. Resiliency, this is a word I didn't hear before. When I met them, I know what means resiliency. And it's now part of my life. So, as soon you are involved in some ways, I promise you become involved in those kids. You will love what they are doing. That's what's happened to me. That's my own experience, and I really love. I don't know, this is a really blessing times to me, being close on them, and I hope to be for the next years and saw those kids growing and being a good citizen and a good people for our country. Yeah, I'm so glad to be. And actually, I want to congratulate.
Thank you.
This is a really very well done documentary about refugees. Very good done, a good perspective. I guess it's really what's happened. That's the truth.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And also, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of the African United team, soccer team. We spent a couple of days, shooting. As you were able to see at the end of the documentary, I produced a shoot. I did pretty much everything for this documentary, but it's because I really love these people, and I'm very passionate about social issues. And when I was shooting for this documentary, these guys were like doing exercises for like 2 hours so I could get good footage, while they were exercising. So I thought that was so funny because